Good morning. Please also give it up for Manja. She's incredible. Good morning, bonjour, salam alaikum. Such a pleasure to see everybody made it to this room. Mayor of Freetown, Ivona Kisoye, the patron of the 4th Nalafem Summit, honorable ministers, parliamentarians, sisters, leaders, feminists, I stand on existing protocol. And I welcome all of you to the 4th Nalafem Summit. We made it, it's the 4th year. Thank you for joining us, especially those traveling from 25 countries who really made it here, and it wasn't easy. And I heard, our flying in Africa, we have a lot to do to improve, but you made it, and you're here, and we all made it to Freetown. And we took that ferry from the airport to the mainland, and such a lovely trip. I love being convener because I am in the midst of incredible leaders. I get to be with builders of futures sometimes don't exist, but will, because it's a co-creation space, and a lot of things emerge from Nalafem Summit every year. Thank you to Madam Mayor and the Office of the Mayor, and your incredible team, actually predominantly women. I think I met only one man since we had meetings. Really, thank you for co-hosting this summit with us. Thank you to our partners, everyone who made it possible, and most of all, thank you to the people of Sierra Leone for your warm and heartfelt welcome to us. Thank you so much. Okay, let me begin by honoring the land on which we gather. This land that holds memory and carries pain. This land survived war, resisted colonization, and birthed a new generation of lion-hearted women. Sierra Leone is the land where peace was not gifted, it was built by many of these women we see, the names and faces of pre-colonial, post-colonial Sierra Leonean women. We chose Sierra Leone as our destination because Sierra Leone is where resilience meets potential. Here is a country torn by conflict and war, now led by women in councils, in cabinets, in communities. It's incredible to see the journey Sierra Leone has taken. And as we honor in this room the people who are here, let us also remember who is not here in the room. It all begins in a rural classroom or a refugee tent or a market stall. That's where resistance starts. So a lot of the women who should be here, let's carry their stories with us in this space. Over the years, Nalafem Summit has become a political home for women who dare to lead. Women who dare to shift culture, governance, and history. And when women rise, when we see a woman rising, we show up. That's what we do. That's why our summit moves. And here is a woman, Madam Mayor, who dares to lead a city, to serve in the face of crisis, to reimagine urban futures, and to seek the highest office. Yes. That's why the theme of the summit is women leading in crisis and peace. Women have been fighting for a seat at the table, but once we get that seat, once we win, how do we govern differently? How do we survive the backlash? How do we stay in power and bring others with us? Because the barriers don't vanish when you take the oath. After the campaign trail comes cyberbullying. After the headlines come the harassment. After the historic win comes the isolation. So we are talking here about online abuse, political sabotage, physical threats, emotional manipulation. Patriarchy never retires. It reloads. And it weaponizes transitions to erase women's gains. And when war happens, most often, women in power are the first to be sacrificed. Collateral damage for, male egos, a rivalry between male egos. So our strategies and what we hope to discuss here is that we go beyond getting women in political office. Actually, how do we build systems that protect, support, and sustain women to be in power? The reality is only 2 female elected presidents are on the continent today. Do we know which countries? Namibia, Tanzania. Only 6 African countries have achieved above 30% in national parliaments as women. Women under 35 account for less than 2% of parliaments across Africa. There are a handful of women who are ministers of finance, foreign affairs, critical ministries that are still male-dominated. So Africa is a continent with powerful women, but is Africa a continent of women in power? Another front line we cannot ignore is defending sexual and reproductive health and rights. Without bodily autonomy, there is no true leadership. Stripping services from girls and women who need the most is unacceptable. You cannot claim to support women in leadership when policing their bodies. I know there are a lot of Sierra Leone activists here who will speak on the Safe Motherhood Bill. We stand in solidarity with you. And that's why the Nalafem Summit is also a space of Pan-African solidarity. We must resist being divided. There is a lot of polarization today. We must resist being divided along colonial borders, political affiliations, tribes. Our eyes must stay focused on the goal, the liberation of African women and girls. So what happens in one country affects all of us. We stand with the Sudanese women fighting militarization. We stand with our sisters in Western Sahara, in Congo, in Haiti, in Palestine, and everywhere resisting oppression. A feminist summit cannot be neutral. We are political because we are Pan-African. And in such polarized world, we are only powerful when we are united. So we also don't shy away from calling leaders across Africa to stop using power to punish women who dare to lead. Because democracy cannot thrive where voices are silenced. Feminist leadership cannot grow where courage is criminalized. Victoria Omoza, imprisoned in Rwanda for 8 years, rearrested 2 weeks ago for inciting disorder. Her crime, calling for democracy. Rakia Madugu, former Minister of Justice of Benin, sentenced 20 years for the audacity to run for president. In this very room, my sister Joanna, Member of Parliament of Zimbabwe, abducted, tortured, arrested, and still standing. These women are not threats to national security. These women are threats to patriarchy. So we stand in solidarity with you, and we demand the release of those imprisoned and the protection of those at risk. We demand a continent where women can lead without fear. Today, we also celebrate the 4th anniversary of Nalafem. We are getting older. We're 4 years. 4 years of building across movements, across generations, across borders. We started from 17 women forming our first council to 100 women guiding our strategy, from 10 grassroots organizations benefiting from Nalafem Academy to over 50,000 feminists and our organizations, members of Nalafem. It's been a ride. And in every anniversary, we launch a new initiative, a commitment, a step forward to gender equity, because the journey of a woman is not a linear journey. We lead through pregnancies, periods, menopause, grief. We lead through physical pain, emotional labor, and we rise. So today we want to launch Nala Notes. You should have a pouch on your seat, and the pouch have 3 categories of notes. If I can have them on the screen. The care notes. Think about if If you were to create an invoice of all the unpaid labor you do every day, how much would be your salary? Well, I know for sure my grandma would be a billionaire because the women in my family are the CFOs of our households. Then you have the healing notes, because we deserve to lead while healing and holding space for each other. The healing note. Then we have the mentoring note, because this room is full of role models. So this symbolic currency is to represent the unseen contribution of women make every day. When you feel seen, supported, mentored, grounded, give a note. Let this circulate. Let your sister feel appreciated. Maybe we can start here. If you look at someone next to you or behind you or in front of you, give them words of affirmation. Take a note, give a note. Let's see, who's giving a note today? Who's starting us? And I would like to give, yes, Mayor. Solidarity with Joanna, absolutely. Healing notes. And I would like to give all my care notes to my team, which I really want us to appreciate. People think there is a huge team behind this. We're just 5 people. Omom, Kene, Sylvia, Reem, where are you? Please, round of applause to the team who pulled this together. I have a healing note that I want to give to the person I'm going to introduce on stage. I want to welcome the board chair of Nalafem, chief of staff of the Office of Chief Justice of the Judiciary of Kenya. It's a long and a very important title. Rose Wachuka Macharia. Rose.
We heal together.
Mm-hmm. Rose, last year we were in Windhoek. So the Patreon of our summit last year, 3 months after the summit, was elected the first ever female president of Namibia. What are we taking from Windhoek to Freetown, and especially to the Freetown Declaration?
First, can I share this healing note with all of you? Because truly we are a continent on the path to finding healing, to protecting our women and girls, and to reaping all the wonderful things that we know we deserve. So at the Nalafem Summit 2024 in Windhoek, Namibia, we gathered around a powerful theme, the right of women to lead. For far too long, women have had to prove and reprove their capacity to lead. And every time we get close, the bar is moved farther away. Every time we get close, the rules are really rewritten and the thresholds are shifted. So with the election of our 2024 Nalafem Summit patron, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, came the fulfillment of a promise to have a 50-50 cabinet. And this is so monumental because only 9 countries in the world, only 9 countries in the world have a 50-50 configuration in cabinet. So the moment was not just a symbolic nod. It was the architecture of equity in motion. It was a declaration that parity is not generosity, it is good governance.
Yeah.
So in Windhoek, we were clear that Nalafem is not just a platform. It is a movement intent on replacing exception with expectation. Because we are saying that we must get to a point where we no longer make history. We must get to a point where we are no longer the first woman, but one of many. Mm-hmm. In Freetown, Madam Mayor, we are tackling the power question. And we have waited at the gate of power for too long, Aya. So this summit, convened under the theme From Representation to Power, Women Leading in Crisis and Peace, is our next frontier. Because representation is entry, but power is authorship. We are clear that we must move from admiration to normalization. It is no longer enough to celebrate the first woman. That's not the ceiling, that is the floor. That is the floor. The real goal is not symbolic inclusion, it is structural transformation. So this is our era of design. Welcome to our core design space. We are not nurturing broken systems anymore. We are not massaging the donkey down the slope. We are building new ones from the ground up.
Yeah, thank you for that reflection. You know, I've been on this leadership journey with Rose in different capacities, in different spaces for the last 15 years. I think I met all the ex-boyfriends by now. But we were fighting together for a seat at the table. And we're saying now it's not enough.
No.
We need to move from representation to power. So unpack for us, what is power? Who has it? How can we use it?
A question, Aya. Why is it still controversial in 2025 for African women to claim authority? Why is it a big deal? Why is it, oh, how dare they? How dare she? How dare Madam Mayor becomes the next president of Sierra Leone? How dare she? Why is it such controversy? UN Women estimates that at the current pace, it will take 130 years.
It's 137 now.
Ooh, so 7 years on top of the mark. We must, in my view, decolonize this narrative that paints women's leadership as exceptional. Because for how long must we be held to the false standard that women in power are rare, remarkable, or unnatural? I think, why are we still expected to be fast in order to be seen as finally worthy? Why must we be extraordinary just to enter rooms where mediocrity has long been the norm? Why does the world still scan for extraordinary women when we see excellence in ordinary women making extraordinary sacrifices every single day? Who built the lie that power fits men by default, but demands proof from women? Until leadership by women is normal, let us be clear, the system is broken, not us.
Yeah.
Okay? So power and politics, in my view, define our daily realities. Picture this. A child's access to clean water in Freetown is political. A woman's safety in public space in Harare is political. The cost of bread, the freedom to dissent in Nairobi, the ability to own land in Lagos, all of it, it's political. To pretend otherwise is to surrender our agency. And that is why we must tilt our collective mindset away from charisma and slogans towards character and delivery. Africa, in my view, and in the context of power, cannot continue electing leaders who traffic in promise and perpetuate pauperism. We must interrogate track records, not tribal ties. We must prize moral courage over oratorial flair. We must debunk populism because it has failed us, and we must embrace performance to lead us. So, as I close on this thought, the prevailing power structures, in my view, have failed because they were not designed to serve the many, they were designed to entrench the few. They are patriarchal, they are clientelist, they are extractive, and they are inherently unstable. So deconstructing them requires radical reimagination and disciplined action. Because in fact, Africa is in need, desperate need of leadership that is not extractive, but transformative. And that is the kind of leadership that women bring. And make no mistake, Nothing is apolitical. Everything is political. Power is political. And we must not wait to be handed that power. We must rally around one another on the continent and say, hey, Tanzania did it. Namibia did it. Sierra Leone must do it.
And we're not only dealing with national leadership or national level leadership. We are actually hosting this summit at a time where the world is evolving in unknown and uncertain ways. The global politics, the global order, the BRICS are expanding, the rise of militarization. But we need to figure out as African, what are we doing about that? Why do you think it's urgent to elect women who are so connected to the needs of our people and yet have a vision for a borderless continent that is united, that can stand in global politics and advance our interest?
When we conceptualize the theme, women leading through crisis and peace, women have led through crisis, and women have held peace processes for a long time. And as we open this summit at a time when global power is being recalibrated, it is urgent to think about the kind of people we entrust with our governance and the future of our continent. We must think about leaders who are not only visionary, but extremely disciplined, grounded in the everyday realities of our people. And why must this be the case? Because the future of Africa cannot be secured through elite negotiations alone. It cannot be secured through repetitions of patriarchal power games in new clothing. I think that we need leaders who understand the weight of fetching water before dawn. We need Africa to have leaders who understand the cost of healthcare that never comes. The thin line between life and death during maternal childbirth. We need leaders who understand the dreams deferred in border towns and urban slums, lives lost at sea. And women who rise from these struggles carry with them a clarity of power and authenticity of voice. And they do not lead in silos. They build coalitions across borders, across movements, across identities, and their leadership inherently challenges division and inspires unity. Think about the boldness of Her Excellency Ellen Sirleaf in Liberia, who dared to rebuild a nation from the ashes of war, anchoring reconciliation and institutional renewal with resolute and grace. Think about Mayor Yvonne Aki Sawyer, who leapt to the front lines of the Ebola crisis in Sierra Leone, setting a global benchmark for local leadership in public health emergencies. Think about Joanna Momombe, who, as a young parliamentarian, stood against state repression and paid in scars and silence, yet remains undeterred, a living embodiment of the costs of principled dissent. Think about Senator Christo Asige, who looks the Kenyan parliament in the face and tells them that the loss of young lives is not an option, and continues to serve her country and her continent with the determination only a young woman would, or only a woman would. I think that for us, as we confront the next long, unseen, long nights, we need to think about leadership that affirms that women must not be taken as tokens, but as transformational agents. Our political imagination as a continent must expand to embody the praxis of power rooted in justice, proximity, and vision. And we must remember in this moment in history that African women are not waiting to be included. We are already leading. We are already leading. We are not looking to be remembered. We are looking to be repeated. And the urgency now is for our systems to catch up. So all our women are named, remind us that power does not have to arrive in a convoy. Sometimes it walks barefoot. Sometimes it speaks softly and changes everything. So we cannot afford to fall at this poignant moment in our history. We must redefine those structures.
Absolutely. They say that this is not the right time for feminism. We say there is no better time than demanding more power now, because power is taken, not given. And we do this because of love for the continent. We love this continent enough that we want to demand more. So thank you all for joining this movement to advance women leadership and real power.
Thank you very much. And see you again in 2028.